the ESC Region 6 area. Um, Partners Resource Network, Training Information Center, is a parent training information center. We are funded by the Office of Department of Education. Today, we are with Consolidated Planning Group, and we're so glad that you took time to join us for the training today on tips for launching your special needs teen into adulthood. Okay, this is a great topic. We're so glad that they are doing it for us. We had an event a couple of weeks ago, and it was well attended. So we are excited. If you have your cell phone, text your friends and have them to join us so that they don't miss it. They can hear it firsthand. And right now we have Miss Allison Schaberg, if I pronounced that right. She is a special needs advocate, and she will be doing the presentation for me today. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much, Gail. Thanks everybody for being here today. We're excited to be back with you. If you're joining us for the first time, again, welcome. And if you're what we call a serial attender, you come to a lot of our events, we're certainly glad to have you back and appreciate your support. So as she said, Allison Schaberg, I'm with Consolidated Planning Group. Consolidated Planning Group is a holistic special needs financial planning firm. And we really work with families to custom design a plan based off of your needs, wants, your goals for the future of your special needs child. And so today, what we're talking about is tips for launching your special needs child into adulthood. I come to you as a parent. I'm a mom. I'm a mom to four. I have two kids with special needs, and so I've been there from a parent perspective, and I've also been there from a professional perspective because, I eat, sleep, and breathe this all day, every day. So what I'll say is when I had a child that was transitioning, it was challenging, and I do this for a living. So Consolidated Planning Group, we really put out a lot of educational events on a weekly basis, all kinds of topics from you name it. When it comes to special needs, we've got topics on that: guardianship, special needs trust, waivers, able accounts, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to hit a lot of high points when it comes to things today. And so today's meeting is going to be recorded, and we will put out a email with the recording after today's event. Also, Consolidated Planning Group also has a YouTube channel. And so all of our past recordings are out there on our YouTube channel. So when you guys get your email later this afternoon or tomorrow, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then you can see all the past presentations and listen to them at your leisure should you want to. We've got some great ones out there. Andy Hardwick with the Social Security Administration. I tell you, you can't listen to that one enough. There's so much information out there. So please check that out. Okay, so so when we're really starting and we're thinking about transitioning, what we really want to think about is what are your child's strengths and weaknesses. We really I think it's important that we set realistic expectations when we're starting this transition path, and a lot of times the path is a non-traditional path. What is normal anyway? We kind of laugh at that. What is normal? What is the traditional path? Well, there is no such thing. And I think just being okay with where you guys are, you're not behind, you are where you are. But really, really thinking about, where is my child? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What does this mean? Does this mean, should we think about staying in the public school to age 22? Are we going to leave public school at 18 and enter into a transition program that will ultimately bridge over to something like trade school or community college? What does this look like? Will my child drive? And maybe the answer is not right now. Maybe it's no, not ever. For some families, we know that the answer is no, not ever. But sometimes we see a lot of families that it's just not right now. We're not there yet. Okay. Some of the delays that we see with high functioning autism or ADHD are some examples of this. So one of the things we just really want to kind of explore and consider all options. There are so many things and programs out there for our kids and for our families, no matter where you are in your process, whether it's a certificate program, like I said, a transition program. There's programs such as Brickwood where they're actually working and they're amongst peers and other things like that. So there's just so many things. So just keep all of your options open, and I say be a student. Be a student. You're a student here today. Be a student and really take in all the information that is out there. We've actually had a college planning or post high school um, options for special needs kids where the different programs, Lone Star, A&M, UT, VAST. I mean, there's like all these different programs out there, and they've all come together and kind of gave a snapshot of who their programs serve, what they do, how long they last, and those kinds of things. But all of these programs out there, they have little videos on their website, and they have people at their facilities that will talk to you about these programs. Okay, so we're talking about finding a good fit. Schools, colleges, career path, work setting, extracurricular activities, all of these things shape that transition and make for either a smooth transition or a bumpy transition. When it comes to transitioning, what we see as challenges is that the kids leave the public school, whether they leave at 18 or they leave at 22. Where we see the challenges is when they leave the school and they go home and they do nothing. They play video games or whatever it is that they do, over and over and over again. And so they become isolated, and they're not growing. They're not growing their mind. They're not growing relationships or growing any skills to move in another direction. So what we really try to say is kind of early planning. The sooner you start planning, the better. If you're late, again, you're not behind. You are where you are. Okay, so you're here today and you're getting started. But the sooner you kind of plan this out, the more likely it is that it's going to be able to be implemented in a timely manner. Had a slide. There we go. Okay, so one of the things that we need to be thinking about, and a lot of families have already thought about this, they already have things in place, but just because you have things in place in the public school or in your education setting right now doesn't mean that those things will transfer to another facility, okay, or another school, another setting, okay? So when we think about accommodations, some of the things that should be on your radar is the SAT, ACT, AP exams, and getting, setting up accommodations for the college level. So typically, what happens when you're requesting accommodations, so a lot of people have IEPs or 504s in the public school systems, and just because you have that, it doesn't necessarily transfer to the university. So you're going to need proof of diagnosis, okay? Proof of the deficit that the diagnosis causes. And generally neuropsych testing is what they're looking for, right? And recommendations from that professional suggesting what the accommodations needed are. Usually, and I do say usually, they want the testing to be within the last 3 to 5 years. Now, I have seen some reprieve on this because of COVID and because people weren't going out and things like that. So I've seen a little bit of a reprieve on this. Every school and institution is different on what their requirements are. So A&M is going to be different than UT or any of the other programs. I've also seen where people had older testing that they had previously done, but they also had a psychologist or a psychiatrist that they've been following for years. And there was a really great letter from the psychologist or psychiatrist saying, I've been following said individual this many years. Here's the diagnosis. Here's this. The last date was tested was this. There hasn't been additional testing because none is necessary. This is not a declining condition, something along those lines. And then in that letter that professional says what accommodations they suggest. I've definitely seen schools take that. Okay, so for the SAT and ACT, so let's talk about that for post high school options. Is it necessary if we're going to the community college? The SAT and the ACT is something that a lot of families stress over. So while we do have kids with disabilities, we also have kids with disabilities that are also gifted and talented. I understand that we have some that are IDD and they struggle. The SAT and the ACT, you don't have to do this. If you're going in through the community college, that, there are certificate programs through the community college that don't require the Texas readiness test, the TSI. But furthermore, if you are going to go through the community college, kind of a regular path for a degree program, again, the TSI is needed. So if you're not planning on going to the university, or you're going to go in through the community college first, the SAT and the ACT is not necessary, so you don't have to stress yourself with that. Now, should you be moving forward with the SAT or the ACT, the College Board is where you're going to go to for the SAT accommodations, and the ACT is on their website. So basically, you can go to their website, you can say accommodations form, you can download a PDF. They have a form that would be need to be filled out by a doctor and have proof of disability. It used to be that those accommodations would take a very long time to get approved. They've been a lot faster. It used to take months, and now it's weeks. They've been a lot faster well, since COVID, they've actually been faster. Most people are slower, and they blame COVID. But anyway, they've been faster since COVID. But get this in. So if your child totally is going to take the SAT or the ACT, get this in like yesterday, so they can have the accommodations that they need on this exam, and then they can take the exam in a specific window. Some of the accommodations are a small classroom setting or one-on-one classroom setting. Some of it could be 50% or 100% more time. Those are some of the examples of the accommodations, and their website talks a lot more about that. So also reasonable accommodations as it relates to work. There are accommodations out there as it relates to work, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a little bit. Okay, so how do I get started with special needs planning? So when we're talking about transitioning, we're talking about a lot of things, and special needs planning comes in into play. So sometimes what we like to talk about is the difference between a special needs planner versus a financial planner. So basically, when it comes to a special needs planner, we have all the same licenses that a financial planner does, and we do the same similar things that a financial planner does, only we are trained and nuanced in special needs. Okay, so when it comes, it's just, I use the analogy of, like, if you are having a heart problem, you're going to go see a cardiologist. You're not going to go see a foot doctor. You're not going to go see a PCP if you're having a heart problem. And that's the same thing with a special needs planner. And the reason for that is there are a lot of hoops and loops and rules that once your child turns 18 that matter, that you understand, because you can accidentally cause your child to lose SSI and Medicaid just for a simple planner or a simple mistake that commonly people make. And as it relates to other planners, they're just not nuanced in special needs. They don't understand SSI and Medicaid and kind of benefit qualifications and stuff like that. And so they can accidentally cause you to lose some of your benefits that you have in place. So when it comes to planning, we want you to gather all the necessary planning documents, and what these documents look like are the things that you already have in place. This could be wills, this could be trust, any guardianship documents. We're going to talk more about all of those things, because I know that that's something that people always have questions on. Anything related to assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, 401ks, 403bs, pensions, life insurance, disability, any benefits that you have through work. Those are the planning documents, okay? And then we talk about developing a letter of intent. A letter of intent is a concept that some people have heard of and some people haven't. So for those of you that haven't, basically a letter of intent is what I like to call like a family love letter. This is a love letter that you're writing to a family member. This is mom or dad, whoever the caregiver is for your special needs loved one. This is all things that loved one: their name, their date of birth, their social security number, where were they born, the schools that they've attended, their diagnoses, the dates of diagnosis, the medications that they take, the allergic reactions that they've had, their religious preferences. I mean, this goes on and on and on. So we have a template for this. So this is something that you're probably not going to create overnight. And as you create it, it's kind of an emotional thing. Like like as you're thinking all things about your kid, we forget more things about our kids, like we just do this. We're like robots. We just live this life and we just do this. But if you are incapacitated or have passed away, does somebody else know all of these things? And if they don't, then they need to know where to get this document. Okay. So that if somebody else had to step into your shoes, that they would know exactly where they need to start as it relates to your loved one. Okay. And then also formulate a vision of how you hope things will look for your special needs child. And I like to add here how you hope things will look for your future and your retirement. Okay. Because we got other things going on here. So as parents, we're always looking at our kids and what can we do for them and how do we make this better and all this stuff. And sometimes we put ourselves on the back burner. But when it comes to working and it comes to retiring, you've worked 25, 35, 40 years in a job. People have hopes and dreams of retirement, and so do you. Okay, and that's okay. But when you're creating a special needs plan, what a special needs plan will do is show you how to achieve your hopes and dreams as it relates to retirement, while not cutting corners or not making things happen at the same time for your special needs child. So basically, you can do both with a little bit of planning and kind of thinking through plans for my child, plans for me, respite care, all of those types of things go into the plan. So just that is a very individual choice. There is no right or wrong answer for that. So just think about that. Okay. So some of the questions that we hear all the time is who will care for my child when I'm gone? So again, a future care planner are going to answer some of these questions. Some of the things that we say, and sometimes people say, "Oh, over my dead body, we're not doing that." Consider touring care facilities, transition programs, Brookwood, Marbridge, Daymark Living. There's so many different programs all across the state. We actually do have a spreadsheet that has some programs listed in there, and if you email us, we're happy to send those out to you. And we don't endorse any places or anything like that. We don't work for them and they don't work for us. But what we do know is some of these waiting lists can be 5 years or longer. So again, we're trying to prevent that child leaving the public school and doing nothing, right? So are there work programs? Are there transition programs? Get them on the list. You put yourself on these lists and you come up on the list, you reserve the right to say no. But if the list is 5 years and you find out the day that you wanted to sign them up for tomorrow, that it's a 5-year waiting list, that's a really long time. So again, I suggest this too. So one thing that I want families to think about is that I don't know the ages of people that are on here, but if we've got a kid that's 18 to 20, so families are 40s to 60s, 65, somewhere in there, depending on your ages. I know that we can have some grandparents that can be caring for kids too. But what I want you to realize is that whatever age you are now, 20 years from now, you might not feel as good as you used to. You might not be as spry as you used to. And if you have a loved one that needs full care, these lists are important, and it could just be respite care. I'm not suggesting institutionalizing or, shoving your child away or anything like that, but having a plan, having a backup plan. What you'll see when you tour some of these facilities, Brookwood, Marbridge, what have you, the residents, they call them different things, but residents are they're happy there. They have friends, they're important, they have jobs. Life is good over there, and they actually are very, very happy. So anyway, and then also we really say make careful considerations before naming siblings as a future caregiver. And we always say here is that, look, you had hopes and dreams when you were 20 or 25 or 30. Maybe you wanted to get married, maybe you want to go to college, maybe you want to have kids, maybe you want to have a house. Who knows? Maybe you want to travel abroad. Everybody has hopes and dreams. And so what we see sometimes is families name siblings as a future caregiver. So if mom or dad passes away, then that's easy. His brother will take care of him, or his sister will take care of him. And so what we like to see is those healthy, good relationships with siblings where it's not an obligatory thing where they said yes to because they're family, and of course they should. that they're there maybe as a trustee of a trust, a special needs trust that's going to pay for or guide care for their special needs loved one. But in the end, they can just be a sibling and not be saddled with all the responsibilities, but has the ability to fund the care through the special needs trust. So those are ways around that. We can talk more about that. Let's see. I think I have a question. Okay, yeah, the of intent template. I see a question. Yes, just email our office on the letter of intent. We'll reach out to you for that. So, and also as we're going through this, if you guys have questions, Gail will monitor the chat box and certainly let me know if we have any additional questions. Okay, so what's going to happen? How are we going to fund our children's care? So if I need to fund my retirement and I need 25 to 35 years, if I'm going to spend 25 to 35 years in retirement, I know that sounds like a long time, but if we're retiring in our 60s, mid 60s, the mortality tables say that it's very possible that we're going to live to 90s, or and your family, the mortality, everybody's is a little bit different. But there's a lot of things that we need to do. So most people, their retirement assets, right? They need those retirement assets for 25, 35 years. They saved up for 25 to 35 years. They're going to need those retirement assets for 25 to 35 years. So what we want to do is we want to preserve the eligibility for state and federally funded programs. I am basically talking about SSI and Medicaid. So SSI, a lot of our families, their kids don't qualify for SSI or Medicaid. So basically SSI and Medicaid is a means-based program, okay? Means-based has to do with assets. So if your child is disabled and you applied for SSI and Medicaid before and you were denied, basically if you had more than $2,000 assets in your name, or $3,000 if you're married, $2,000 if you're single, if you had more than one house or more than one car, then you were denied when your child was a minor. As soon as your child turns 18, it's based off of their assets, not yours. So even though they still live in your household, you still claim them on a tax return, it's based off of their eligibility, not yours. So if they're already getting SSI and Medicaid, when they turn 18, you need to call back to the Social Security Administration and let them know that they're turning 18 and that you need to do the redetermination and get that switched over. And B, if they're not getting any SSI and Medicaid, you can and should schedule your appointment with the Social Security Administration. I would call 2 to 3 months prior to their 18th birthday and schedule your appointment for the month of their 18th birthday. You do not have to wait till the day after their birthday, but the month of their birthday is when you can have the appointment and call ahead. So right now, the Social Security Administration is not meeting with people face to face. Their offices are not open unless it's an emergency. They are taking applications online and they are taking applications by phone. And again, I suggest calling. Okay. And we are certificate holders, National Social Security advisors. So if you need help with that, that's something that we can, you can reach out. We can kind of talk about your specific needs. So when it comes to Social Security, disability, and Medicare, so I put these next to each other on purpose. So to understand the difference, people say, my son gets Social Security. Most of the time, your child is getting SSI and Medicaid early on. And when we're talking transition age 18 to 22, early on it's SSI and Medicaid. When your child starts getting SSDI or RSDI, it is based off of work credit. So SSI and Medicaid is based off of means, okay, your assets. Social Security disability and Medicare is based off of work credits. Well, many disabled kids don't have work credits. Okay, so they're considered as a disabled adult child under their parents' record once they turn 18. So your child will qualify for RSDI when their parent, one or the other parent, either is retired through the Social Security Administration or disabled through the Social Security Administration. At which point, so if your child's disability started prior to age 22, they're a disabled adult child under your record, they will be entitled to 50% of your Social Security benefit. So in the example, the parent Social Security benefit is $3,000 a month. Dad turns it on at age 67. Then your disabled adult child will be entitled to $1,500. Dad's benefit is not reduced, but your disabled adult child will be entitled to $1,500. So we could have a whole presentation on that. I'm going to just move on. But so other buckets that you can have, money in are a special needs trust. So we'll talk more about those. An ABLE account is a 529A ABLE account. So this is for achieving a better life for an individual with disability. So basically, when it comes to SSI and Medicaid, if you have more than $2,000, then you disqualify for SSI and Medicaid. The only way you can have more than $2,000 for that individual with disabilities is if it is within the confines of a special needs trust or if it's in an ABLE account. Okay. So another way that people fund their care for their child is life insurance and other assets. So they use their assets during retirement for their own planning. And then leftover assets go to fund the special needs trust in the future. But oftentimes what people realize is that we're going to need our assets in retirement. So then what are we going to do? How are we going to fund a special needs trust? And that is through life insurance. So life insurance on the parent's life. When one of the parents dies, the life insurance proceeds go to the special needs trust to fund the care. So there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different ways around it. And again, everybody's situation is unique and how they'll fund care for their child, and we can certainly help with that. So talking about ABLE accounts, so we have a lot of questions about ABLE accounts. What do I need to know? What do I do? So with an ABLE account, basically, in order to have an ABLE account, a beneficiary's disability had to start prior to age 26. Okay, so you can get an ABLE account for your special needs loved one if their disability started prior to age 26. Income earned in the account is not taxable. This is like a 529C for college, but it's a 529A for ABLE. So on a C, you could basically pay for college expenses and things like that. In an ABLE account, basically the expenses that you can cover in an ABLE account is if it can be construed as achieving a better life for an individual with a disability, that it can be paid for. Okay. So the contributions are not deductible, but it does not jeopardize SSI, Medicaid, or other public benefits. But there are special contribution and distribution limits. So an ABLE account, basically you can put $15,000 a year into an ABLE account, and you can have a maximum of $100,000 in that account before disqualifying for SSI. So $15,000 a year and up to a total of $100,000 total in the account before you disqualify for SSI. The other thing that you should know is on an ABLE account, there is a Medicaid payback. Sometimes it's called a clawback or a drawback, Medicaid payback. So what that means is if the individual with disability passes away and there's money left over in that ABLE account, Medicaid can lay claim to that as a payback for the benefits that they were paying on behalf of your child. One of the things I just want to kind of touch on that a little bit further. One of the questions that I get all the time is, why do I need an ABLE account and a special needs trust? Okay. And so basically, an ABLE account can pay for things that a special needs trust can't. A special needs trust can pay for almost everything special needs, but it doesn't pay for food and shelter. So it doesn't pay for rent or mortgage payments, basically food and shelter. SSI is designed to pay for food and shelter. So they want you to use your SSI for food and shelter. An ABLE account can pay for food and shelter that a special needs trust can't. So that's basically it. Another thing is that an ABLE account can pay for college. So an ABLE account is not going to be counted against you for college. An ABLE account can pay for college. It can pay for tutoring. A 529C doesn't really pay for tutoring. It will pay for college. So the last thing on the ABLE account I wanted to mention is that if you already have a 529C for your child and you thought they were going to college, maybe they still are, but you would rather have that money in a 529A for them because it would have a broadened, a broadened spectrum of what you can spend the money for that special needs child, then you can convert your 529C to an ABLE account, but you can still only do it $15,000 a year. So those are things that we can help you with. You can reach out if you have questions on that. So when do I need a special needs trust and guardianship? So again, a special needs trust is going to preserve benefit eligibility while providing resources for your special needs child. This is where our life insurance proceeds, this is where it would be important So we have life insurance, and it's designed to fund the special needs trust. But what a lot of advisors and families do, and if you've done this, you're not alone, so don't beat yourself up, and you can still fix it. But a lot of people have their beneficiaries like this: if I die, my spouse is going to get the money, the life insurance proceeds. And if I die and my spouse is already dead and gone, then that's easy. I'm going to give it to my kids. And so they have their kids listed out by name. And so that in itself will cause your child to lose SSI and Medicaid. So the right way to do it is listing the special needs trust for the benefit of the special needs child by name. And then that way it'll go into the special needs trust. They will continue to get their SSI and Medicaid and will not lose their qualification for that. Okay, so guardianship. We have people talking about guardianship all the time, because guardianship, supported decision making, power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney. First things first, I want to hit on the healthcare power of attorney and power of attorney. So it just depends on where your child is, on whether you truly need guardianship or not. It depends, if you have a child that doesn't walk, doesn't talk, IDD. There's so many things, and I'm not the, I'm not the, I don't pick. Okay, I don't get to judge on who needs guardianship and who doesn't. But a power of attorney and healthcare power of attorney, at the very least, even for your non-disabled kids. When we got kids and we're sending them to college at age 18, it's a good idea to have a healthcare power of attorney and a power of attorney in case something happens to them or they become incapacitated. So for our families that have high functioning autism or ADHD, a healthcare power of attorney and power of attorney may be good documents. You may not need guardianship. Some of our kids may be less mature for their age. Okay, so they may be 2 to 4 years, or who knows where they are. Everybody's different from a maturity level. So, they may need some help for a while, but guardianship isn't appropriate. Also, guardianship is not forever too. So guardianship can be undone. So a person may need guardianship now, but they might not need guardianship in the future. So again, working with a qualified attorney to prepare these documents is really necessary. And this is where I'm going to say, a special needs attorney, so a special needs planner, that's what we do. A special needs attorney, that's who we refer to. When it comes to special needs planning, you really need both. Okay, so a special needs attorney is the documents. They're the legal documents. They're the paper, and we're the money. Okay, so you need the legal documents and you need the paper, but those documents aren't worth the paper that they're written on if they're not funded or if they're not set up properly. And so again, like we talk about special needs planners versus financial planners, an elder law attorney or an attorney that specifically specializes in special needs is what you want to do, because there are some hard and fast rules as it relates to the Social Security Administration and what qualifies for a special needs trust. So when you have your family attorney or a generalized attorney preparing these documents, they're smart, but they could accidentally cause you to have a special needs trust that doesn't qualify as a special needs trust in the eyes of Social Security. So it's a really, really big deal. So this is where I also say, don't do this yourself. There's a lot of things that we can do yourself. Okay, you can download documents, you can templates and all kinds of things that you can do yourself. These are not things that you're going to do yourself. Okay, so when it comes to the things that should be on your planning radar, we've talked about a lot of different things. We've talked about the develop a comprehensive special needs care plan. That is what Consolidated Planning Group does. We do a lot of listening about the planning that you've done so far. We do a lot of listening to your heart, what your heart is for your family and what you want. And then we help you custom design that plan. We're also able to do future care cost estimates. So when we have a child that's going to need care for the rest of their life, whether it's partial care, whether it's full care, whatever it is, it's the rest of their life, not the rest of your life. It's kind of hard to quantify that. And so we can definitely do future care cost estimate and determine how much money is going to be needed for that loved one. So Texas waivers and interest lists, we definitely have basically everything on this page today. We have other Zoom meetings that we on these topics, but Texas waivers and interest lists, these are things we want to make sure that you're on the interest list. A lot of people already are. They've been on the list for many, many years. They feel like they're never, ever going to come up on the list. Make sure you want to also check with your LIDA, your local intellectual disability office and make sure that you stay on the list. You want to check in with them with every 2 years. What I will say, so we're talking about HCS and Texas Home Living. There's a multitude of waivers, but there's a separate 800 number for the class waiver. So some people think that they're on all the lists, but they're actually not because they didn't call class. So just put that on your radar. So we talked about SSI and SSDI, ABLE accounts, beneficiary designations, and this is again where you or your spouse have named your kids specifically as beneficiaries or your special needs child specifically as beneficiaries. This is important for your special needs children as well. When you name a child a beneficiary on a policy, that money sits in trust until they're 18. So even if your child doesn't have any disabilities, that money's going to sit in trust until they turn 18. And when they turn 18, they're going to get all of the money. It's a bad idea. Okay. So even though all of our kids are brilliant, getting large sums of money at age 18 is not a good idea. So there's, like I said, definitely ways around it. Special needs trust, how to fund them. This is a big one. This is a big one that we see a lot. It's a big accident and it's a big disaster. Child support post 18 needs to be redirected to a special needs trust. So we see a lot of families in divorce situations that child support is going to continue post 18 for that special needs child. When it continues and it is not directed to a special needs trust, you're basically disqualifying your child for SSI and Medicaid. So how do you fix this? Work with the father and see if you guys can fix this without kind of a big debacle. I mean, if it's all the same money, I don't know, I get that people don't get along. That's why they got divorced. But if it's all the same money, redirecting it to the special needs trust should maybe it won't be an issue to where we have to get all these, big powered lawyers and it's kind of an expensive thing. So if you guys both come to an agreement, it can be signed off by a judge is basically what I'm getting at. And then you simply open a special needs trust, you open a special needs trust bank account, and then you go log into your child support account and you redirect it to the special needs trust bank account. But you do need a court order. You can't just do this on your own because it will, again, it could fail to qualify as doing it the right way. So we talked about start touring residential facilities, transition facilities, partial residential at 15. We've talked about guardianship and basically our post high school options. So there's a lot to think about. And if you're feeling overwhelmed or like, gosh, I don't even know where to start, I think just get started. It's okay. So take a picture of this slide, have this on your list, and start checking things off the list. When we do a special needs care plan, what we're able to do is we're able to help you align your steps because a lot of people don't even know where to get started. As far as guardianship is concerned, if you are really thinking about guardianship and your child is turning 18, you can start that guardianship process 6 months prior to the child turning 18. And this can be important. So whether it's the power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, which happens once they turn 18, but having these documents or supported decision-making along with the power of attorney, you want to have these when they turn 18. So that way, if there's any ARD meetings or IEPs, if they're staying in that public school a little bit longer, you want to have these documents. Most schools work with families, but having these documents give you the right to be there, give you the right to be involved in all of these things. So you don't want to kind of miss that and be, behind and trying to get that taken care of and working from behind. So at this point, here is our contact information. And again, today or tomorrow, you're going to get a recording of our slides and also our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. And once you subscribe to our YouTube channel, again, you'll have access to all of our past recordings. So you can find those at your leisure. And also we'll reach out for our additional educational events that we have going on. We'll send it. I think we send an email once a month with all of the events that we have going on, so you can kind of pick and choose things that are applicable to you. So having said that, I'd just like to open it up to any questions. If you guys have any questions, certainly put them in the chat box, and or Gail, if you have any questions that you wanted to chat about. Okay. Well, I don't see any additional questions today. I would definitely like to thank all of you for joining us today. We're happy to serve you. We look forward to chatting with you about your unique needs. And again, you guys are where you are. So thanks for being here. You're not behind. It's no looking back. We hear people say all the time, I'd be embarrassed for you to know where we are, or what we haven't done, or I should have done this. And it's not like that. It is so not like that. Any of the steps that you've taken so far, our journey is long and it's hard, and we have all these full-time jobs and full-time hats that we're wearing. So give yourself a little grace here when it comes to that, and we're happy to work with you going forward. Gail, I'm going to just turn that right back over to you. I think you're muted.
A lot of great information. We appreciate you presenting this. I've learned some things just in this presentation that I didn't know. I am a parent of a child of a disability, and so looking at your list, I mean, that's a great list. To it will give me more opportunity, more things to share with parents and things that we want to know. And so the special needs trust is really a great tool that we need to consider, because that's one of the things that I've noticed in working with some parents that have, uh, is they don't even want to talk about it because they don't want it to interfere with their Social Security or their Medicare. So what I'll do is I'm going to shout this information out to them so that they can learn more about subscribing to the YouTube, so they can learn more information about some of those different topics. We have a youth leadership program, and so this would be also good to share on to the individuals. One of the things that we do is we monitor the youth after they graduate from high school. We monitor them, so I'll be able to share more information that they can put on their information of learning more about information that they be knowing moving into adulthood. So thank you for sharing that information with us so we can shout it out to more parents and more youths.
Absolutely. And it is a lot to take in. And like I said, as a parent, when I had a child transitioning myself, I mean, I do this for a living. And at that time, I mean, we're past that. But it was a lot. I mean, it was really a lot to take in, and all these ifs and buts and hoops and loops that you have to jump through. And don't forget this. And so, I think, just aligning your steps and kind of having your plan, then it's easy to work your plan from there. So, again, I just thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Gail, for having us. We look forward to working with you again. And I hope you guys all have a great afternoon. Take care.